Okay, second to last video, 7-9 pedigrees. Now you're going to have to bear with me on this one. My handy dandy little tablet, which I complain about all the time, is currently not cooperating with me at all. So I'm going to be using my two fingers on the itty bitty mouse on my computer. So I apologize if my writing is not that good. Alright, pedigrees, pedigrees. This little picture that we see right here is an example of a pedigree. As you can see, it's kind of like a flowchart for your family. And it lets us see Grandma and Grandpa here and the fact that they've had some kids and the kids got married and had kids and so on. So pedigrees show us how the inheritance pattern of a particular trait can be carried on through generations. In order to understand this, there's a few things we need to know. And it's right here on the title page here, but it will also say it on the next page here. That a pedigree is just any sort of chart that we use to show the relationships in families, like who's married to who and who had what kids, but also how the traits are passed on through that family. So we can actually follow it and go, oh, it went from grandpa to you and then to the grandson. So we can do that with a pedigree. Now in a pedigree we have a couple of things that are consistent. One is that boxes, squares, always represent boys, males, and circles always represent girls. If there's a line in between a boy and a girl, we say that that represents a relationship that produced children, offspring. But if the lines are over the boy and the girl or whoever, then we say that they are siblings, that they're related to each other. If the circle or square is completely filled in, shaded in, we say that they show or represent whatever trait it is we're studying. If it's half filled in, we call that a carrier. But if it's not filled in at all, then we say they don't show the trait. So let me go back here real quick and show that again to you. So circles are girls, boys are squares. If it's completely filled in, you show the trait. If it's half filled in, you are a carrier, and if it's not filled in at all, you don't have it. If the line is in between the two, that means you made some children, and if the line is above you, that means that you are siblings. If a line sprouts off of it, that means that's the kid. So this is not their kid. This married their kid. So we can see that they had a child, a girl. That's their first one. It usually goes from left to right in birth order. So they first had a girl, then another girl, and then a boy, and then another girl. So 4 kids, 3 girls, 1 boy. Now, pedigrees are great if you know what type of trait you have and how it gets passed on. If it's an autosomal dominant trait, we know that the big letter is bad and the little letter is good. So that's a big B. So all of the ones that are filled in, we can do with a big B. Because it's autosomal dominant, the only way that you don't show it is if you are homozygous recessive. So all the white ones that we can fill in here, we can automatically put little. But as for the big bigs, we got to figure out what the genotypes are. Now there's an easy way to do that. If you know the kid's genotypes, it's really easy to go backwards from there. So like this one right here has 2 little genes. Well, one from mom, one from dad. But we know from the filling in that the mom and dad show a particular trait. So the only way that they could have not passed on the trait to their kid is to each give their kid one of those recessive alleles. And so there we go. We can see that they are heterozygous. And you think, but isn't that a carrier? No, because it's autosomal dominant, the dominant trait shows no matter what. If you have 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. Now, some of them you won't be able to figure out, because if I do the Punnett square from this, I can either be big B, or I can be big B, little b. So in this case right here, because they didn't have any kids to figure out, I could be both. So we represent that with a little question mark, boop, like that, to show that we don't know what the genotype is until they have children of their own and figure it out. Okay, I know I did the whole thing in class for you, but I'm going to just kind of shorten it, so again, because my pen doesn't work and this is really hard to make this look legible. Okay, this one, we've got recessive pedigrees. In this one, we said that big B is a good one and little b is a bad one. So anywhere where we show the trait, because it's recessive, we can automatically know that these guys are little b, little b. And then as for all the ones that are clear, well, we know they at least have 1 big B, we just got to figure out what the other one is. Well, again, you want to go backwards. So if I know that a kid is little, I know that one came from dad and one came from mom. So both of them don't have it, so they have at least 1 big B, but the fact that they produced a kid with it means both of them had to be carriers. In that particular case, we go through and we color in representing the carriers. We do not assume that these 2 little b's got together to make this son who has it and give him all filled in. Because of the fact that they are filled in already, we don't fill them completely in, we only fill them halfway in. And then the last kind is X-linked, so that in this particular case, the sex has everything to do with it. So what you do is you go through, and all the girls you put XX, all the guys you put XY. Because it's X-linked, the only one that gets something is the X chromosome, so you don't put anything on the Ys. And if it's recessive, we know little is bad, big is good. So if it's a girl, we know the only way she can show it is to have two little. So we would have X little b, X little b. Since this guy is normal, X big B, Y. So all the guys that aren't filled in are X big B, Y. All the guys that are filled in are X little b, Y. So what about the girls? Are they carriers or not? Well, that depends on what the parents are. So what you have to do is some Punnett squares in order to figure out what the girl possibilities are, and then also look ahead at what their children are, and that will kind of give you a clue as well as to what they are. So we're going to practice this a little bit more in class tomorrow with the whole X-linked and everything. So today we did autosomal recessives, which are pretty darn easy. So tomorrow we're going to go over X-linked as well. All right, thank you guys. See you tomorrow.